Hi.
Devastated.
Devastated.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's Adam and Talia here with an instant movie review. So tonight we saw the new film from writer-director Celine Sung, and that film is Past Lives. Tell us all about it, Talia.
Past Lives follows two deeply connected childhood friends from Korea, and one of them moved away when they were younger, and it basically follows their separate lives as they slowly start to reconnect with each other and then grow apart and then reconnect again, and it is just their whole messy story that they have gone on there.
So it takes place over 24 years.
24
doesn't it,
years,
really?
yeah. It starts when they're younger, around probably about 10 or 11, and then they slowly, it's like the 12-year periods it works over, so it's 12 years and then another 12 years.
Yeah. So this is basically a film about past lives, about, you know, connections when you're young to someone that you love, or you have a a deep friendship for, and then, you know, trying to find that reconnection 12 years later, and then seeing where your lives are, and then seeing whether or not that connection still exists, or are your lives that far gone that you know that there's never a chance of it ever happening again. I mean, this film sort of brought to mind things like, you know, the Before series, the Richard Linklater films, those sort of films, even a bit Harry Met Sally. You know, you kind of got that connection, even the New York connection a little bit. But unlike those films where there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of discussing about emotions and talking about their feelings and connections and the journey of people, this film kind of just lingers and makes you look at these people and look at the faces.
It relies a lot on their body language and understanding their gaze and the way their emotions are being communicated.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You can get a lot from the silence in this film more than you do the talking, I think.
I think this is a great example of how, you know, 75% of communication is really through body language, of saying something through a look or a gesture, or that awkward moment of will they, won't they. And it's interesting to sort of hear people talking about it and saying, you know, this is a film of sort of expectations or want. You know, you want something to happen, and your kind of desire to kind of, are you going? Come on, let's go. You know, that very much that want for you as an audience member for something to happen. But, you know, the control that the director and the writer has put in place to sort of feed that line, but then pull it back and say, well, we're not going to go that easy way, and we're not going to talk about it. We're just going to basically rip your heart apart as things are not being...
I cried a lot.
Not being said and not being emoted the way that you probably want them to go, because, you know, that would be the easy route. So Celine Sung has done theatre for about 10 years. She's been a playwright and a director in that space, and this is her first motion picture as a writer, director and executive producer on this film. And Greta Lee, straight out the back, who plays Nora, she is absolutely phenomenal. Her way of gauging emotion and being able to sort of pull this guy through this emotional ringer is quite phenomenal. Yeah.
It's definitely heartbreaking. I cried a lot. I was talking to you about this, but there's something beautiful about language and the way which language is used in this film too. Like, we talk about love and talk about connection a lot, and you see it a lot in a lot of films, because that's a really main theme of most, you know, mostly everything. There's always an undercurrent of want or fate or need or love. in a lot of stories. But the way this film does it is it's so beautiful in a way that is haunting, if that makes any sense. Like, knowing what could have been is what creates... I don't know, it's hard to put it into words. It's
well, they
not really
talk about
something-
the layers, don't they?
Yeah, it's the layers, the whole, like, 8,000 layers of Inyon to actually be able to have a relationship with someone that's loving and romantic and all that. And it's very sad, but in a way that you can't really say that it's wrong.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is probably with this film is that you know, I'm sure a lot of people relate to this film on a lot of different levels, and you know where you are at different stages of your life as well, whether or not you're looking at it from a fairy tale point of view, or if indeed you've maybe been in that situation before where you know and I think the one thing about this character of Nora is that, and it's beautifully said by, is it Hae-young, is that saying, you know, like...
He says, like, you're a person who stays with him, but you're a person who leaves with me.
Yeah.
Which is so heartbreaking and beautiful. Like, clearly, throw my heart out, Celine song, throw my heart on the floor, stomp on it a couple times and give it back to me in my hands, because that's exactly what you did with that line.
Yeah.
And the last scene in this movie is just...
Yeah, there's a big exposition scene that made me feel so uncomfortable watching it, because there's, I won't say too much, but the body language speaks even more than maybe what the words are saying, and then the very last scene in this is just talk about an explosion of emotion. So this is an amazing movie. It looks great. There's some really interesting choice of muted colours throughout the entire film. It's almost a wash of beige, but then there's these pops, especially in the early scenes, of red and blue and yellow, and it just kind of gives that real childish, colourful, what could be sort of emotional feel going on. And then the whole of the last part of the film is very wash of beige, and this pop of blue comes through, and cream of this guy that sort of comes into her world of black and greys. And it's very interesting how the colour palette is used in this. Lots of reflections, lots of use of lighting, reflections, rain, weather becomes a really big part of it.
Yeah, it does.
There's some quite and the soundtrack is beautiful.
Yeah,
and not even
the use
that.
of sound design as well is really interesting as well, especially in the beginning of the film.
Absolutely.
It's just incredibly done to the point that you feel completely immersed in it. Like, you sit there in the cinema, and you can, now that you like, you can tell that she used to do theatre and that she was a playwright, because the way she uses the space on the screen is exactly the way that you would use a stage. You use it to immerse the audience. You make them feel as though they are a part of the story that they are watching. Like, you are a bystander watching these people go through the things they're going through.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the whole people watching thing is a really interesting way to open up the film.
Yes.
Because it's exactly what we do. We do people watch a lot of the time.
We're a voyeur.
We're a voyeur into these people's lives,
that's it. And that is film, that is theatre. We're being taken into, it's a voyeuristic medium. We're watching a story play out. We're watching people's emotions.
We make our own assumptions about what people are feeling and what people are understanding,
100%.
which is entirely what the beginning of this film and this whole film is about, is that we don't really understand entirely what is being said through words. You have to see it to understand it, which is exactly why there's not a lot of dialogue, and also why there's a very limited amount of actors too. I feel like there's literally three main people in this film, and that's it. And
anyway, what would you give Past Lives, Tali?
I really loved it, so probably an 8.5. 9 out of 10. I cried a lot, which is always a good sign for me, and it is, even now as I'm talking about it, I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cry again, because the more you think about it and the more you look at this film, it's just so beautiful
It's a heartbreaker.
in so many ways.
It's a bloody heartbreaker. It's a bloody
heart ripper out of her and
heart
stomp it
ripper
on the
outer.
curb.
Stomp it on the ground, put it through a mincer.
and then
That's
give
what
it back
you
to
get.
me in my hands and be like,
Absolutely. Thanks very much for that.
Thanks.
So yeah, I think 8.5 is
Yeah.
very much a fair thing. It's a beautiful looking film. Go
It's
and see it in the
gorgeous.
cinema if you can, because it really does fill the screen, and the soundtrack
The
is
emotion is just...
amazing. Yeah. So yeah, check it out. Past Lives. Thumbs up, double thumb.
Thumbs up.
Oh, I gotta go put my